So I'm sure that what I'm going to talk about today is something that it seems like almost all of us have seen before, where, like a creator out of nowhere will just rise to massive amounts of fame overnight. They'll have all this money and all of this stuff pretty much out of nowhere. And, they'll be everywhere for like a few months to a couple years. And then out of nowhere, you just stop hearing about them and they kind of just disappear, I guess. I'm sure this is all something that we've seen before, and that's what I want to talk about today is why do creators always seem to have such short careers? So today I have a few reasons as to why I think that this sort of phenomenon happens. I want to start with the first thing that I'm going to talk about today, which is the idea that trends pass. Now, a lot of creators that rise to fame overnight pretty much rise up as a direct result of some sort of trend coming from TikTok or Reels or whatever. And in today's day and age, trends seem to have a super short shelf life, maybe only a couple weeks sometimes. Probably as a result of short form content, trends don't last as long as they used to. And when you have a creator whose entire claim to fame is one thing, one trend, a one-hit wonder type creator, when that trend disappears, there's also a good chance that they fall off and, just completely disappear. And there's definitely examples of this, the Hawk Tuah girl that was popular a few months ago.
Oh, you gotta give him that Hawk Tuah.
I already don't hear about her anymore, even though she's got apparently a reality show and whatnot coming out. I don't know if anyone's actually gonna care because she's only known for that one thing and she blew up overnight just from that one thing. But this can't really be applied to all creators because not every creator that rises to fame blows up as the result of a trend. This leads me into the next part of today's video, which is the idea that over time a creator can lose touch with their audience because they lose whatever made them appealing to the audience that they've built over time in the first place. For example, someone who blows up because they were relatable, who gets all this money and then buys a mansion and a Lamborghini, is no longer, for the most part, relatable to the average person. So yeah, this is something that I feel is completely natural because creators change over time. A perfect example of this would be someone like iDubbbz, who rose up from his bad unboxing and his Content Cop series, and he'd use a lot of super edgy humor.
Gay retard, you have AIDS. Your mom should have swallowed you. There's the fucking kiss on that letter. Hell yeah, dude.
And this really does attract a certain type of person that would watch this type of content. And then when he changed, now he's almost the exact opposite of that. And he went out and talked about his old fans and almost in a negative light.
I did not like the interactions that I had with fans. There were quite a few human beings that I interacted with.
In person?
In person, that just sucked because I attracted a lot of people who suck.
You lose touch with your audience that way, and now he's bleeding subscribers. Or you have cases where the viewers themselves, their preferences change. In middle school, I was the biggest, not the biggest, but I was a huge fan of Pyrocynical. I hardly ever watch him now anymore because back then he was making commentary videos and I was more into games than I am now, but now he really only makes game review videos, and the commentary videos on his second channel aren't what they used to be on his main channel. He makes mainly game reviews now, and they're really long, and I don't really play video games that much, so I'm not as interested in his videos as I used to be. So creators can definitely change, and that can have an impact on their audience, and the viewers themselves can change, and that will alienate them from a creator that they once spent a ton of time watching. But there are also many creators who retain their audiences over time, and they're able to adapt and change with their audience. But yet so many creators don't seem to be able to make videos as a long-term sort of career thing. So the next thing that I want to talk about is just how it seems that it can be very draining to actually be a full-time creator. Many creators seem to voluntarily quit after a few years, even when they're getting a lot of views and they haven't sort of fallen off yet and everything's going well. You just still see a very large number of creators quit. And I guess that's just because it can be draining. Even though it's easier than a lot of jobs, it's also not something that you can super easily step away from because your income is entirely dependent on outputting these videos, and you don't really have time off in the traditional sense of a regular job where you get PTO time and all that stuff. So after a few years, it just seems like a lot of creators get really burned out, or they just feel drained because it is one of those jobs where I'm not gonna say it has bad work-life balance because you don't have a schedule or a boss or anything like that, but people feel like they can't take breaks, they have to keep pushing out content, and it eventually leads to burnout. Some people that get famous on YouTube can only keep up the consistency for a few years before they inevitably burn out and quit. But for every creator who kind of fades into irrelevancy or, rides off into the sunset of retirement or quitting content creation, it seems like there are creators who have their careers ended in not so nice ways, which is the reason why I want to talk about this next point, which is creators getting canceled. Now, I don't want to go too in depth into the reason why creators get canceled because that's been covered all over the place. Plus, cancellation is a hot button topic because, there's always a debate on whether or not cancel culture is okay, but I just want to talk about it because it is a pretty big reason as to why it seems like so many creators' careers end prematurely. So I feel like it's likely that this keeps happening or creators keep getting exposed because unlike most other people or even other types of famous people, their entire lives are online. So with that much about your personal life online, it's way more likely that something that could lead to the end of your career is going to come out about you at some point. Not to mention that it seems like many creators or influencers lack the media training that a lot of celebrities have because, they rise up through social media, and it's not like with traditional celebrities where they've been conditioned to the fame or anything like that. And it can cause all sorts of problems when it comes to creators actually dealing with these controversies. So in some cases, something that may not even be career ending in most cases can end up spiraling into something way worse for a creator than it originally should have been. Despite all the stuff that I said about trends and burnout and cancellation, it does seem that many creators do end up being able to support careers as creators long term. I think that this is heavily dependent on a creator's ability to adapt and change to these platforms and these things as they change over time. And I think a great example of a creator who maybe started as a trend, like what I mentioned earlier in the video, who has now sort of carved himself out. I don't even know if you consider him a creator or not, but I think Miles is a great example of this. So I've been editing and watching this back in post, and I know the Miles example seems insane, but just stick with me here and let me explain. He started off as a TikTok meme. I think it was the Pirates on the Boat song was the first one to go viral. At least that's the first one that I remember.
Pirates on the boat, pirates on the boat, pirates on the fucking boat.
He was able to use that, and over time he's sort of it's the same joke that it was originally. It's the worst rap song that you've ever heard, so bad that it's good and it's funny. But he's been able to change it up a little bit and stay relevant long term, even past the initial Pirates on the Boat TikTok song, which I think came out in 2022-ish. There's him, and there's plenty other great examples of creators who have been able to change up their content over time and be able to stay relevant and sustain careers on social media for a lot longer than they otherwise would have been able to. To conclude this video, many creator careers definitely don't seem to last, but it's 100% possible for a creator who can stay out of controversy and adapt and change with the times to sustain a longer career on social media as a creator.